So my panel is going to be made of the following very able people in the education space. Ms. Jane Nyaga, Assistant Director, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Where are you, Madam? Karibu. Welcome. Welcome, Jane Nyaga. Thank you, thank you. Then joining us online will be Dr. Philip Mutisia, Professor of Education, North Carolina Central University. I don't know whether I've pronounced it right, Carolina or Carolina? Carolina, I think so. Karibu, Madam, Karibu Kit. We shall also have online Mr. Otoa Sifuna, teacher at Dar es Salaam, International Academy, Tanzania. I hope he'll be online at some point, I don't know. Thank you. And then on stage we should also have Madam Martha Odundo, Deputy Director of Education, Office of the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Education. Martha Odundo is coming. Thank you. Karibu sana, Madam. Karibu. Karibu, karibu. I don't know whether I should sit in the middle or pande hii. Karibu, karibu, Madam. I think I'll sit in the middle so that I can reach both of you. Thank you. Yes. So, our main task here today in this Transforming Education Summit 2022 is policy frameworks and curriculum development. And I'll request that you remove your mask so that we appreciate how God created you. Thank you, Madam. Thank you very much. Yes, yes, yes. Good. Can you just say 1, 2, 3, 4?
1, 2, 3, 4.
What about yours?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Is she audible enough? Thank you. We can take it up. Now, we are talking about education reforms in this country when things are really taking shape. In terms of curriculum, we are aware that we are moving from 844 to CBC and so on. So we really have a lot to talk about when it comes to policy frameworks and curriculum development, because I belong in so many WhatsApp groups where people keep on complaining about this and that. So when you complain a lot but you don't give solutions, then I think you are not the right person to be lecturing Professor Magoha or Dr. Juan and so on. We should be here, we should be heard talking about what should be there, not what is not going right. Because I'm aware that Kenya is a country where people can really criticize. People want to criticize all the time and they look for mistakes from people. Recently I saw Professor Magoha, he just made a small joke and somebody made it a big issue. And he talked about some lady, oh, who are you from? Where are you coming from? Are you, or then, yeah, it's now an issue. So I don't know why people are so full of hatred in this country. Education needs to be people who seek to provide solutions. Now, if I begin with Ms. Jane Nyaga, my first question to you is education in Kenya has made tremendous changes over the years to fit international standards and to shape the learner's mind and develop people who are problem solvers of the 21st century. However, the viability of the learning process depends much on the curriculum developed by KICD and the Ministry of Education to realize the academic core curriculum excellence in our schools. Now, the question goes, as the curriculum developers, what are the new areas you are working on that can shape our education for the future?
Thank you, sir. To respond to your question, I think there are many areas within the competency-based curriculum that are going to help the country to transform the country and achieve the 21st century skills. And to start with, the great shift from the objective-based to competency-based curriculum is a great milestone where we are focusing not just on knowledge, but paying attention to skills, attitudes, and values. So we want to develop a whole person who is able to work with his hands, develop the cognitive the psychomotor skills, they're able to do things, and also their attitudes are right and their behaviors are right. We also have very key programs that are new, like we have the Community Service Learning Program, which is helping the learners to actualize what they learn, to apply what they learn in class. So learners are given the opportunity. So it's not just learning the theory, but an opportunity is provided for the learner to go out into the community and be able to identify real needs in the community and come up with ways of solving those challenges within the community. So the learners aspire to be problem solvers, yeah? They're able to identify the problems, not just leave it at just identifying, but also coming up with solutions. So that is also very key. It's a new program that is within the CBC that is going to be done. And it is across all levels of education, starting from the early years, and it is integrated up to junior school, but at the senior school is a compulsory, one of the compulsory core learning areas. And then the other key thing within the new curriculum is that if you look at our basic education curriculum framework, we are really focusing on values, because remember our vision is of an engaged, empowered and ethical citizen. So the issues of values are very key, and values comprise the first pillar of the basic education curriculum framework. So we are very purposeful, and in the curriculum we have identified 8 core values which we are mainstreaming in all the subjects across the curriculum. And then we have what we are also referring to as the parental empowerment and engagement program, where we want the parents also to be engaged in the learning in the learning process, so that they are able to monitor the progress that the learner is making. We also have, within the curriculum, we have identified 7 core competencies. 7 core competencies, and these really are the 21st century skills. We have communication and collaboration, critical thinking and problem solving. We want them to be problem solvers. We have creativity and imagination. We want them to be innovators. We have citizenship, because we are also reckoning that in our country we have issues of citizenship. So citizenship is now a core competency in the curriculum. We have learning to learn, because learning never ends, it's a continuous process. So we want learners and teachers to be core learners. And we also have self-efficacy. We want to have learners who have strong, high self-esteem, who can be able to set goals and follow them up. And we also have digital literacy as one of the core competencies. So the 7 are core, and they are embedded within each of the learning areas at all the levels, from the lowest to the highest level. So those are just a few of the areas that are new that we are embarking on, and that we believe that once this is fully implemented, it will transform our society, transform education and transform society.
Yes, Madam, before I cross over to Madam Martha Odundo, I want to pick your mind on an issue that really dominated the social media space over the past week. We are talking of moving away from cognitive domain of learning, so that we embrace maybe affective and the psychomotor domain. However, don't you think in your own assessment that teachers are taking too long to realize that we are moving that direction? I'm talking specifically about an issue that happened in a school called Nyamninia Primary School, where a teacher still stresses that a child must attain 400 marks, failure to which you are caned thoroughly. Talk to me about that.
Thank you very much. That was a very unfortunate incident that happened. But you're saying it's a process, and we are moving forward. A change takes time. And of course, those are some of the things we are saying we need to address as we move ahead with the new curriculum. Because we are talking about an ethical citizen. If you look at what happened in that school, then the issues of ethics then are thrown through the window. And therefore, that is what we want to bring back to our society, so that we can have people who have values, who are not just educated, but they are also ethical. and therefore we are very intentional in the new curriculum to address the issues of values. And actually we have isolated a program in areas that we think are very key. We have programs that are running beyond addressing them in the formal curriculum. We have non-formal programs, and we have the values-based education program that is really going to articulate the issues of values. And we expect to pilot that program so that we can be able to identify the best practices so that we can have a change. Because we all reckon that in our society, we are actually in a moral crisis. So we really need to think and work around to ensure that we address the issues of values and therefore so that we can talk about an ethical society. So I agree with you that that was quite unfortunate. And when it comes to the teachers, we are embarking on capacity building, which is continuous. And of course, we want the teachers to have a change of mindset and a paradigm shift, even in the way they teach. So we are talking about transformative pedagogies, where the teacher is no longer the sage at the stage, but a guide on the side to guide the teacher. The teacher is now a facilitator of learning. So the teacher becomes a co-learner. So even as we talk about the values, it means that even for the teachers, they need to unlearn, and so that they can learn and improve. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Madam, for your insights and for your for sharing with us what you think should be the right thing to do in the current situation in education. Now, moving to Madam Martha Odundo, you are a seasoned educationist in this country, and I think you really appreciate the journey that we have had since we had 7423, then we have moved to 844 system, and now we have competency-based curriculum. So as a long-serving educationist and expert, do you believe that the changes the country has taken over the years in the education sector puts Kenya in the right direction to achieving a fully transformed quality education?
Thank you very much, Frank Otieno. First of all, to understand the question, I would like to start by defining what quality education may mean. Taken from various perspectives, several people have different definitions, including the human rights groups. But generally, it has no one definition. It may include measurement of inputs and outputs, like, for example, number of teachers, number of classrooms, number of learners, all those educational outcomes. It may also mean, to some people, performance in examinations, and perhaps that's why that teacher was caning, because the understanding of the teacher was that quality education is only attained when you get certain grades or certain marks. It may also, from a human rights perspective or rights approach, then it may also mean that you take into consideration the whole welfare of a learner. That is the environment in which they are learning, the content, everything, the concept of what Dr. Tony Devine was just speaking about. How is that school? Is it safe for a learner and all that? Does it take care of a holistic learner so that the learner comes out sound in mind, healthy physically, and even morally and in all aspects? So, having defined that, going through the journey of education in Kenya, it also includes relevance, by the way, and even equity, issues of equity, maybe the gender parity and such like, the equitable distribution of resources and all that. So if you continue improving so that even the areas in the marginalized places are able to get education, then you can have a measure of some quality improvement in education. So having said all that, and having tried to define what education is, then I want us to go through the journey of the policy frameworks that we've had to take us through the different curriculum frameworks. Now, before independence, the colonial period, we had three forms of education, of three forms of curriculum being provided. And there was that curriculum that was meant for the Europeans, that was meant to equip them with white-collar jobs. And then there was that one for the other middle level who are artisans, and mostly they were Asian origin. And then there was education for the Africans, which was only tailor-made to do hand jobs, yeah? The jobs that are merely vocational, like being drivers and all that, you know, the low-level jobs. And so when we attained independence in 1963, the government commissioned Ominde Commission, and through the commission, there were certain objectives that were picked out for the country. So those are the objectives that formed the curriculum. And so if we are to measure in that term, the Ominde Commission had one of the major objectives is to unite the country, bring the national unity and identity, yeah? And therefore, that is when the 7423 curriculum was introduced. And it was made common. They abolished the segregated type of curriculum, and so it was common to all. And so everybody had to follow that curriculum, and to even ensure that certain subjects were emphasized, like Kiswahili, for the issues of uniting the country. Geography and history were also identified as some of the core subjects that can bring in national unity. Then from there, another milestone that we had was in 1976, when we had the government or the president commissioning the Gashadi Committee on Education. And they still emphasized the same, but went ahead now to try to make education respond to the needs of the country in terms of employment. And so there was a lot of emphasis on vocational education. And that is, I think, where the evolution of technical schools came about. Those who went through that system that time, I understand that there were in high school, you could choose to go to a technical school or just the other system, because I didn't go through that, but I hear there was that. And so that is how it came about, that now there were even technical schools, so that people were hands-on. And this was meant also to address the issue of employment and all that. And there was also emphasis on agriculture. There was the introduction of junior secondary, and then secondary school was the area where now somebody would choose specialization. That is so closely linked to what we have currently in the competency-based, only that the pathways have been...
Madam Mudundo, let me interject. I've heard you talk about there was Kiswahili that was meant to unite this country. I really wonder how serious we are with that, what we have talked about in terms of Kiswahili. Because I'm one of the advocates of Kiswahili in this country, but I get disappointed when I go to schools and I speak to people in Swahili, they look at me like somebody who has not gone to school. Have we made our learners to believe that it is only English that makes you a scholar? I want you to talk to me about that, even yourself as you sit with me here. Do you speak Swahili outside there, or do you don't like Swahili?
Okay, at personal level, I think Swahili was the first language of all my children, even before their mother tongue. And I think maybe the environment determines that. But coming back to the school issue, I think our orientation is very, very different. And so there's a paradigm shift. If you can remember, just in this month, or I think late last month, the BAKITA, yeah, and the UNESCO made a Kiswahili Day in Africa and for the whole world. And that happened in Zanzibar. And the African Union has also ratified Kiswahili as the common language to be spoken across Africa. And so why would we be shy? So for me, I think it should not be that way, though it has been put that way. And maybe because of the orientation, maybe even from the colonial period, whereby now people who spoke English looked superior than those people who spoke the local language. But today we are saying it's the opposite, and the direction, even in the international arena, like the UNESCO has identified Kiswahili to be spoken all over the world. If you try these days even to apply international jobs, Kiswahili is one of the working languages that have been identified. And so I think for me, making Kiswahili big is good. And for those of us who don't know, this is a platform for sharing experience. It's very good to embrace Kiswahili because it can take you places. It's now the language, one of the emerging languages that the world is focusing onto. And even as Kenya, we are more advantaged. When you read all those international articles, you find that our future is very bright by expanding Kiswahili and even creating Kiswahili teachers and Kiswahili experts, because all these countries in Africa are going to teach Kiswahili at some level. And so if we prepare our workforce to specialize in Kiswahili, to become Kiswahili teachers, to become Kiswahili experts, translators, interpreters, and all that, then this issue of even unemployment will not be there, will be the expatriate in those African countries and in other parts of the world. So that is my response.
Wow, wonderful. I think she deserves a round of applause. Yes. I don't know whether our people online, our panelists, are they there? Anybody? Mr. Toa Sifuna? Toa Sifuna of Dar es Salaam? Not at all. The professor from Carolina? Not yet?
Yeah,
okay.
I am.
We'll get there when you'll let us know when we are ready with them. Okay, let me come to you, Madam. Madam, this name is disappearing. Madam Jane Nyaga. Yes. My second question to you is, by the way, do you appreciate what she has talked about in terms of Swahili?
Oh, yes, I do. And I want to add that it's actually a paradigm shift. I think it's the perception we had there before, where we look down upon Kiswahili, but things are changing. And we are not just focusing on Kiswahili, but also the indigenous languages. In CBC, we are going back to the indigenous languages, and they are now in the curriculum because we want to emphasize that African identity and make our learners be proud to be Africans. So I echo what my colleague has said.
Thank you, Madam Jane Nyaga. Okay, now my second question to you as a KICD person. Share with this forum the journey of competency-based curriculum as the country gears towards junior secondary school next year. Actually, the main issue here is junior secondary school. It's the main issue that it's a thorn in flesh. Everybody is talking about, there's a lot of confusion. People are not understanding how are we moving forward, who is joining where, and why are we calling, there is this aspect of this issue of this child is in this school but has to choose another school from another, I don't know. Can you just share with us so that we are in the clear picture?
Okay, thank you. The journey of CBC started back in 2019 when we rolled out CBC in the early years level, that is pre-primary 1, pre-primary 2, and grades 1 to 3. That was in 2019. And then every year we have been moving to the next grade. So in 2020, we moved to grade 4. In 2021, we moved to grade 5. In 2021, we moved to grade 5. In 2022, this year, we moved to grade 6. And 2023, next year, we are going to be moving to grade 7, which is the beginning of junior school. So it has been a process, and of course, before the 2019, we had done the needs assessment survey in 2016, and we piloted the CBC curriculum in 2018 to prepare us to roll out in 2019. So after 2023, then we'll be moving to grade 8, grade 9, and we'll go the whole cycle by 2027. That's when we'll go the whole cycle up to senior school. Yes, so that is what I want to say. So we are ready in terms of curriculum, in terms of preparing the junior secondary school curriculum. We are ready, the books are ready, and particularly the grade 7. We are working on grade 8 for the materials to be prepared. And I think for the rollout next year for the grade 7, we are ready in terms of curriculum and curriculum support materials. Thank you.
Before I leave you on that matter, the retooling of this teacher that is supposed to be embracing CBC, because currently what we are made to understand is that the teachers that we have, they complain of having been not trained well to fit in. They are still 844-ish. How are we sure that we are moving with speed to make them now CBC compliant? Because without that, we are just talking and implementation is really wanting. Yes.
Thank you very much. Teacher capacity building is a continuous process. And like I have said, we've been rolling out a grade every year. And before we roll out the grade, the target group is usually trained. So if we are rolling out grade 7, already this year, we have worked on training the grade 7 teachers who will teach next year. So that has been happening in collaboration with the Teacher Service Commission. The Teacher Service Commission are mandated to carry out continuous professional development of the teachers and capacity building. So that has been going on. Of course, when we train, we target a particular category. So we target the group that we prepare for the rollout for them to be able to implement the curriculum. So probably it may happen that if you talk to a teacher who is not in that target group, they may then say that they are not ready. But I am aware that the Teacher Service Commission has been very keen on the capacity building, and every other holiday they carry out training of teachers. So it's a continuous process, and it's going to continue. Even this year, there will still be further training, so that by the time we get to January next year, the teachers who will be tasked to implement the grade 7 curriculum will be ready. Yes.
Yeah, I was also very keenly following the presidential debates, and I noticed with a lot of disappointment that, actually this question is coming to you, Madam Odundo, shortly. Not much is being talked about in education space and even health. So let's narrow it down to education. Were you equally disappointed that no presidential candidate is talking about education, or even the moderators themselves were not even keen to bring out education issues? Is it because they don't know about these issues, or what? Even as I now marry that point with this question that I have written here, that do you believe that our education system and teaching concepts are aligned to our job market demands and geared towards solving our socio-economic problems?
Okay, not fully, but we are on the right track. We are on the right track in the sense that is why the government has made a deliberate action or decision to reform the curriculum, and not only the curriculum, but also the system. So it's an overhaul of everything, so that what was missing can now be linked. And that is the point I was even coming to when I was giving my first response, is that in each and every stage, we cannot say that the government has not provided or did not provide quality education, because at each level, the government commissions experts to carry out research, and so the research informs in terms of the development needs and the development stage of a country. And that is why you see at independence, the emphasis was on certain objectives. And then come 1981, there was the change of the system and the curriculum, that is 844. I know that some people may want to say that 844 was a failure, but perhaps those were the findings of the government at that time, that 844 would address the needs of the country. And so after 30 years or so, the government has also made another deliberate action to change the system and curriculum so that it addresses the contemporary issues that we are talking about, the issues of technology, the issues of science, the issues of the job market. Whatever skills that are needed today for the job market are not the same ones that were needed 30 years ago. And so that is why we continuously, quality is a continuous endeavor. It's infinite. Yeah, you cannot just do things and then say that you are set for the next 100 or 30 years or 50 years. You will continuously improve on quality, and by improvement, you try to change the curriculum, you review the curriculum, you review the system. So to some extent, it has responded because how comes we have a workforce that is efficient? How comes we have people that are performing in the different sectors? But what we are saying is that now, maybe what we had is not now corresponding with the job market, and so we have to now realign ourselves.
Yeah, so to you, your name is Kennedy?
Yeah.
Yes, Kennedy. Competency-based. When you went to school 8 years ago, or maybe 14 years ago, or whichever years, could you be having some competencies in you that you feel that have not been exploited?
Yeah, like if we go the CBC way,
Yes.
It gives chance to talents.
Yes.
You can now easily exploit.
Go
that.
straight, say to your,
And
what's
then
your talent?
I was not given that time, so
You don't have a talent?
I don't have it.
Okay, let me hear from a female student over there. Take the microphone there, please. He looks like an athlete. He can run. To me, he has a talent of running. How I wish he could appreciate that. Yes, talk to us about which school you are coming from. Of course, it's State House. Is it State House?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you have a talent, you? Give us your name first.
My name is Trisha Mudeu from the State
I
House
can't
Girls
hear
High
her. Is that microphone on?
My name is Trisha Mudeu from the State House Girls High School. According to me, it is competency-based curriculum, which mainly deals and focuses on what a particular student wants to pursue their career. Instead of you learning 8 subjects in high school, you are specified to learn what you want to become in future. Yes.
And if you were not to take the cognitive part or the academic part of education, and you had to go into some hands-on whatever, what could you become? What could you do?
Me. Because I love dancing.
Wow. Oh, you could be a dancer.
Yes.
Beautiful. Yes. That is what I wanted to hear. So,
I guess I'll just focus on becoming a great dancer and also a choreographer. Yeah.
dancing where? In church or in clubs or where?
As long as I just have to earn
Very
money.
good, very good. Dancing is dancing. I'm being told here, but dancing is dancing. You appreciate your body parts and so on. Thank you very much. Makofi kwake jamani. Yeah, thank you very much, my panelists, for creating time, and we can talk about this forever. So I wish we could have more time, but for now, I just want to give you 1 minute each to wrap up and tell us what you really feel should be embraced in terms of transforming education in this country for the future, with reference to policy, frameworks, and curriculum development. Let me begin with you, Madam Odunda.
Okay, thank you. There's just something I want to touch on the issue of the debates, the political debates not touching on education. It is something that is very, very pertinent, and the voters and as Kenyans, we should even ask in these forums so that they are able to commit themselves, because as much as it's education and curriculum, when there's no political goodwill, because politicians or the executive is the one that drives the whole process. Even if you check in all the processes that have been there, in 1981, it's the second president who drove it. And in this CBC, you know very well that the current president has really supported it and all that. So if maybe an incoming government does not embrace whatever is spelled out within the curriculum reforms and does not give the required finances, then everything can be a flop. So it is important for us as Kenyans to ensure that there is that political commitment in terms of whatever curriculum that is being implemented, and in terms of the allocating of the budget and the necessary resources that are needed. And that is also tied to the Constitution 2010, from Article 53 all the way to Article 57 and even 9. You find that the issues of quality of education have been really emphasized. The issues of basic and compulsory education for children has really been emphasized. And so it is up to us to make that happen as citizens by embracing on that. But now on the other part of closing, I want to say that the government is really trying in ensuring that we get quality education. And in terms of budgetary allocations, currently, like in the latest budget, we had almost 30% of the total budget committed to it. We have a lot of milestones that have happened. If you have to measure quality by these parameters, in terms of gender parity, in terms of enrollments, in terms of schools built over the years and classrooms, the infrastructure, the textbooks and all that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Madam Nyaga, as you wind up, maybe first of all tell me, now that you are somebody who has really come from a place called KICD, where we appreciate languages, you have said that really embrace Swahili. Kamilisha methali ifuatayo. Mwenda pole. Mwenda pole hujikwa. Umejaribu? Nani atajibu hapo? Mwenda pole hajikwa. Asante. Anyway, that was just on a lighter note. So kindly wind up with a point of closure, so that when we leave here, as you go back to KICD, we still have got some bottlenecks that are coming with this embracing of KICD, CBC. What next, and what should we looking forward to?
Thank you very much. Let me start by acknowledging the student from State House Girls for saying that you are talented in dance, and want to tell you that in CBC, music and dance is one of the subjects that is offered. So we are looking at that diversity, and it falls within the pathway of arts and sports. We have the arts and sports pathway, we have the social sciences pathway, and then we have the STEM pathway. So that gives the learners a broad leeway to choose what they want to do. And then for me, I want to encourage us that CBC is a good program, and it's the way to go, because that is the global trend. And really, if we have to transform society, then CBC is what is going to help us as a country to transform. And actually, I think we have done a good job in terms of conceptualizing it, and many countries are even envying what Kenya is doing. So let's value what we have, let's support it, let's leverage on the synergies that we have to really support CBC so that it can move forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, on behalf of Professor Mutisia, all the way from North Carolina, Madam Jane Nyaga, Assistant Director, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, and Madam Martha Odundo, Deputy Director of Education, Office of the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Education, Kenya, I thank you, and we wrap it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.